It was the policy of keeping Africans in their place, which by 1965 made Rhodesia illegal in the eyes of the world.
I don't believe in black majority rule ever in Rhodesia. Not in 1,000 years.
Bob wrote a song called Zimbabwe. Natty Mashitina Zimbabwe. I and I Liberate Zimbabwe. And when the song got to Zimbabwe, the freedom fighters embraced that as their anthem.
They got their independence. Finally, they got their independence. And they sent representatives here to Jamaica to ask Bob to perform.
They wanted him to come, and when they saw the cost, they said they couldn't afford it.
And so Bob Marley used his own money and shipped equipment, I think from London, to Zimbabwe. You had dignitaries from all over the world.
Gabriel Mugabe, do swear that I will well and truly serve Zimbabwe in the office of Minister of the Government. So help me God.
Midnight, the exact moment of independence. As Prince Charles, Governor Soames, and hundreds of visiting heads of government and VIPs from around the world watched, the new flag was raised, Robert Mugabe's government assumed power, and Zimbabwe was born.
Exodus, oh Lord, movement of the people.
It was the first time anybody in Zimbabwe had heard anything like this. When the first song started, the 90,000 people outside who couldn't get in decided they'd come in.
Men and people will fight you down when you see your light. Let me tell you, if you're not...
It was the freedom fighters heard Bob Marley inside the stadium, and they are locked out, not being able to go in, and they just flattened the fence. So being there on stage, I remember I was the first person to smell something unusual. It was tear gas.
There was this strange sensation that was burning our throats. And it felt as if we were gonna die. We didn't know what it was, and we felt that we're gonna leave Jamaica and come all the way to Zimbabwe to leave our kids and just die. So, Britta, Marcy, and I, we ran off the stage, and the musicians were coming off one by one. But Bob was still in his element, and I guess he didn't even realize what was happening.
That just opened my eyes to know that this man was ready to go down with his people. Whatever the reason was, Bob didn't run nowhere.
So when we got back on stage with Bob, this is what Bob said to us. Now I know who are the true revolutionaries.
Just come to break oppression, rule equality, yeah. Wipe away transgression, set the captives free, set the captives free now. Set the captives free, yeah.
And I think that was one of his highlights of a dream for you. He was at home.
Zimbabwe, freedom!
Did Bob want to reach a black audience in America?
Oh, of course he did. Bob, until he died, he did. The last concert in New York was to try to get African-American R&B airplay in America. Bob had a cult following in America. And when you go to a Bob Marley concert, it was sold out, but it was white.
the black people in America responding. It was always a big thing. We always talked about it. We always wondered why.
So Frankie Crocker, the #1 jock in the country, said that I got a concert with the Commodores. We'll guarantee you 3 months of airplay if Bob would open for the Commodores. We said, you got to be crazy. The Commodores should be opening the show for Bob Marley, not in reverse. I went back to Bob, and Bob said, no problem.
Could you be loved and be loved? Could you be loved and be loved? Don't let them fool you. Or even try to school you.
When we did the Madison Square Garden show, that night was history.
It's not right. Love will never leave us alone.
Every single one that was in the audience stood on their feet to acknowledge this man.
Could you be loved and be loved? Could you be loved and be
I think the doors of America was open to Bob right there.
The next day, we were out in Central Park jogging, and we was going up this hill. And all of a sudden, he stumbled, and he laid him down on the side of the trail, and he started shaking, and he had foaming at the mouth. And I said, when I looked at him, he looked real strange. And the guys gathered around him, and they said something in patois, and he hollered, Rastafari, and jumped up off the ground. Scared me to death. I mean, he was there shaking and foaming. Next thing I know, he's jumped up.
We took him to the hospital next door to my house. The doctor told Alan and me that Bob Marley had cancer and that it had spread.
He had cancer all over his body. Lungs, brain, like all over the place. It was incredible that he was able to keep working.
But the doctor told us that we shouldn't do anything, that we should just let him stay on the concert tour, that he was so strong and powerful that one day he was going to walk out on stage and he was going to fall dead. But that he could not be treated and he could not be helped.
How did he take the news? I mean,
Bad. He took the news bad.
I knew he'd had problem with his toe before that, but I'd forgotten about it. I think everybody seemed to have forgotten about it. Because if he'd been going to regular checkups, you know, he might be around today. But
he just didn't go to his checkups.
No.
The next stop was Pittsburgh. And we were waiting for Bob to come on the bus, for all of us to drive to Pittsburgh. And we never saw Bob.
finally he arrived, and he was looking very, very stressed, I remember. And we went to do sound check. And I remember we did the sound check with one song. And we did that song for maybe 2 or 3 hours. I'm hurting inside.
It's the longest sound check we have ever had. It just felt like, why? We didn't understand.
We had a meeting before the show, half an hour before the show, and we were told by Alan Cole that this was going to be our last concert. And of course, we were all like in shock.
Before we went on stage, he said to me, I want you to stay pretty close in case anything should happen. So I'm saying to him, nothing's going to happen to you, man. Everything's going to be all right. But he said, stay close in case, just in case you got a seizure.
I wanna love you, I wanna love and treat you right.
He put on a show, but it wasn't the same. He didn't have the same energy. But the people kept him pumped up because there's just so many people in the audience, and they were Bob, Bob.
They called for an encore, and we are saying, Lord, I wonder if he can do it. And he went out and he did the encore. He did about 4 songs. And they called for another encore. And I'm saying, Jesus, I wonder if he's going to fall out on this one. But he did it. He did it. And that was the last time we performed on stage together.
I was with him the whole time in New York when he was being treated at Sloan Kettering. I was with him every day. I was with him when he was getting chemo and his locks fell out.
The weight of the locks was just too heavy. The few hairs that were still holding was beginning to be really uncomfortable, and he decided to cut it. That was quite a night. It was myself, Rita, a group of us women. We lit candles and we were reading from the Bible. We were reading the book of Job. And cut.
I said to him, you going for the rude boy look? And he laughed. It was funny, but it was really, really sad. The saddest thing I can ever remember.
That was the first time I saw him, like, without his hair, you know, and he looked like so tiny.
So listen, we're gonna fight it, all right? Regardless of what the doctors might say or what they might do, we're gonna fight it. Because Rasta never give up.
Left to me, I would have said, Bob, come home to St. Anne and come eat roast fish and callaloo.